Hello, I'm Mark Powell. If you ever teach one-to-one, you'll know that many of the techniques and activities we use with a group simply won't work one-on-one. Pair work, group work, for goodness sake, reading comprehension, and writing skills. Most of these things will be less successful unless we make important adjustments. Peter Wilberg, probably the best author on one-to-one teaching, says this: "Conjurers distinguish between stage illusions and close-up magic, involving the manipulation of small objects." And in one-to-one teaching, you'll probably find that materials and teaching aids, which are close range and small scale, will work much better than big things like whiteboards and posters. Okay, so this lesson idea involves conversation cards. Now you're probably already very familiar, perhaps too familiar, with conversation cards, and you know what they look like. I've got a set behind me here, which might be useful for using with a business English learner. We have a range of different current affairs and economic topics. By the way, when choosing a set of conversation cards in one-to-one, do make sure that the learner gets some input into that. In fact, they could actually select the topics themselves to bring into the classroom. But if you provide the topics, then give them the opportunity to throw out any cards, any topics that they're not interested in, and just focus on the ones that they are. So far, this looks like a conventional lesson: pick up a card, talk about a topic, but it's a little bit cleverer than that. Here's a breakdown of the lesson plan. Okay, so in step 1, the client and the coach jointly prepare this set of topic cards. Maybe you want 10 or 12 with an upper intermediate learner, perhaps only 4 or 5 with a lower intermediate one. And the cards are stacked one on top of the other. Step 2, the client picks up the top card and speaks for a minute, perhaps, maybe 2, on that topic. And the coach listens, doesn't say a thing. When your learner has finished, they put that card on the bottom of the deck. So in step 3, the coach picks the next card off the top of the deck, and now they speak about that topic. And the client, your learner, listens. Then the client picks up a card, and so on, client, coach, until all the cards have been used up. And the card that went to the bottom of the deck has now come back to the top. Now in step 5, once you have that first topic back on the top of the deck, it's the coach's turn to summarize what they remember their learner saying. And so this will involve a lot of language of summarizing, checking, confirming, correcting information on the part of your learner. A lot of useful business English, in fact language of meetings, can be practiced in this very, very simple conversation activity. Now, it's also a good idea, by the way, to record all of this conversation as you are discussing the cards. So, coach summarizes what they remember their learner saying about the first card. In the next step, the client now picks up the next card from the deck, and it's their turn to summarize what they remember the coach saying. So they're getting to practice the language that the coach used in the previous term. Now you've probably noticed in a lesson like this that certain structures and lexis will emerge. For example, reporting language, reporting verbs, perhaps even reported speech and grammatical backshift. These might be things that you want to address at this stage. The cool thing about one-to-one learning is that the grammar and the target language very often emerges in the course of the lesson. So instead of going in with the agenda of teaching grammar, you have a conversation, a guided conversation, like this one with cards, with your learner, and the grammar emerges and you teach to that. And if you've recorded this whole activity on a digital recorder that you can quickly plug into your laptop, you can send the whole audio file to your learner, who now has a permanent record of the lesson. They can show it to their training manager, and you can give detailed feedback, which you can email to them as follow-up. So this is a very professional, and it's also a good mixture of high touch, high tech. A lesson which is about cards, it's quite familiar and personal, but at the same time you're using technology as the backup. But remember, the language is emerging. It's what I call just-in-time teaching rather than just in case. Now, instead of conversation cards about current affairs and the economy, how else could you use cards? Perhaps, if you're the kind of teacher who likes to use the news in your lessons, you could have a news story on each card. And what would be good here would be to be able to link each card to perhaps an online video on YouTube or Vimeo. This means that you can discuss a news item and then watch a short clip on video afterwards. So you're blending the video with face-to-face conversation. So there's a slightly new spin on conversation cards for you in a one-to-one context. Try it out for yourself, and I hope you have fun with it.